Hi everyone, this is Neel, Raithatha, consultant, audiologist and director of ClearX. Thank you for joining me in my latest video using the iCLEARscope endoscope. And we have a really interesting case here. It's of a patient who first developed bilateral ear infections. I'm just reading their notes, my kind of summary whilst I'm editing this video. There's a bit of information here, that's why. So back in October 2025, they developed bilateral ear infections and their initial symptom was bilateral itchiness. There was no pain or discharge. So they went to their GP and they were prescribed firstly a topical antibiotic spray called Otomized in the UK. So Otomized contains 3 active ingredients. Neomycin, which is an antibiotic, more specifically an aminoglycoside. They inhibit the ribosome, the sub part of the ribosome in the bacterial cell, and the ribosome is involved in kind of cell replication. So it transcribes the RNA and it helps the bacteria to multiply. So it inhibits that process. It doesn't then technically kill the bacteria, but it prevents it from multiplying and exponentially growing. And it contains dexamethasone, which is a steroid, which is designed to reduce inflammation, and acetic acid. So quite often with ear infections, otitis externa, which is the umbrella term given to an ear infection, the pH level of the ear becomes more neutral, where it should be acidic, and the acidity in the ear is quite important. Less so with fungi, but with bacteria. Harmful bacteria in the ear thrive of more neutral pH levels. So acetic acid, essentially white vinegar, it re-acidifies the ear. It makes it harder for these pathogenic bacteria to colonize and cause an ear infection. And then they were given oral ciprofloxacin, which used to be prescribed for ear infections off-label. They were initially designed for eye infections, but now they are specifically manufactured for ear infections. And ciprofloxacin is very good with more harmful bacteria, so gram-negative bacteria like Pseudomonas aeruginosa, but they're also believed to be non-ototoxic. So if you have a perforation or a grommet, a T-tube, ventilation tube, and you have an infection in the middle ear, you can prescribe ciprofloxacin because it's not known to be absorbed by the cochlea, the organ of hearing, and cause damage to the sensory hair cells, whereas most ear antibiotics are known to be ototoxic. If they're absorbed by the cochlea, they can cause permanent hearing loss. They felt that the right ear somewhat improved, but the left ear became worse, and they started developing pulsatile tinnitus, a throbbing sensation, which they can audibly hear and feel. And the left ear became even more itchy, which suggests to me that they may have not had a bacterial infection. So the initial symptom was itchiness, which is a hallmark symptom of a fungus infection, to otomycosis. Now guys, I'll come back to that in a moment. So we just remove that dead skin that was near the eardrum, and now I'm going to perform a complete skin peel of the ear canal. So you just watch me do that. It's very tricky because the skin is really, really thin and we're working very close to the canal wall, and we don't want to graze the canal wall. It's extremely challenging in that respect. So you need really good steady hands, hand-eye coordination. So I'll let you guys watch this. And this skin at the entrance is really a bit thicker. It's really adhesive. It's really hard to peel. So they also reported some tenderness in the mastoid region, so behind it in the bone, which we're going to be wary about because this bone is porous. So if you have an infection behind the eardrum, this bone can absorb the infection, and you can get what we call mastoiditis, which is an infection of the bone behind the ear. And that can be very, very dangerous because it can grow upwards towards the brain, cause a brain abscess, meningitis, can lead to potential death. And they also felt the ear was a bit painful when they're sleeping on it. Now, that could be what we call sleeper's ear. So the skin that lines the front part of the ear, so this is called the pinna or the auricle. Now, the skin that lines the front section is 2-ply thick. It has the epidermis layer, the outer layer, and the dermis layer, the middle layer. It doesn't contain the subcutaneous layer, the adipose tissue, which is the 3rd layer, if you like. Whereas the back of the ear contains all three. So that's why people can often get frostbite with the front part of the ear and not the back, because there's no fatty tissue there to keep it warm. And without the fatty tissue, if you apply pressure constantly in cartilage, it can become a bit painful. I'm guilty of that. I've got a bad habit of falling asleep on my sofa, and I've kind of paid the consequence recently with a bad neck. So they had that. They also have a history of vertigo. They believe it's what we call benign positional paroxysmal vertigo, whereby there's loose crystals in the ear, in the organ of balance, called otocania or otolins, and certain head movements cause these crystals to enter one of the semicircular canals. So we've got 3 loops, if you like, in the organ of balance designed to help the brain code for different orientations of movement. So it's 360 in total. So certain head movements cause these crystals to enter. Normally the horizontal one, it can be the posterior canal as well. And it tricks the brain into thinking you're moving when you're not in a certain direction. So then you get vertigo and your eyes start kind of contorting and rotating. You get rotary nystagmus. So they were assessed by the Balance Clinic at the local hospital. They had a hearing test. The hearing was fine. I've got to speed up because I've not got long left. They don't feel like the hearing's been affected. They then went back to the doctor and said, look, this infection's not resolving. They had a swab and they were told it's candida, which is a fungal infection. They prescribed Canesten, which is the antifungal drops last week, but they found it really, really painful to use. I've had another patient say that as well. So the GP then recommended to use ear calm. Now, as I said, the acidity in ear calm is not really going to be that effective against fungi. Fungi, it doesn't matter really if it's acidic or alkaline or neutral. The doctor said it could also be hormonal reasons for their itchiness. They've got no history of eczema psoriasis. So we cleared all this away. I tested their eardrum, it was fine. Tested some other possible pathologies, which all came back clear. So recommended the patient obviously not to get water in the ear because it can exacerbate it. I've sent a referral to the doctor for an ENT referral because they've got this pulsatile tinnitus, throbbing, dull pain still in the ear. The mastoid was clear, it didn't look inflamed, so I don't think they got mastoiditis, but nonetheless, they need an ENT referral. My time is up. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. That's a view of the eardrum. Take care, keep well, speak soon. Bye.